Well, g'day everybody. It's the 29th of September. September's nearly gone. Unbelievable. And Rodriguez is looming large on the horizon. So that's kind of cool. And they're making incredible times. I'm completely stunned at how fast the fleet is going. Anyway, that's part of the course. They're all sailing really well. And everyone's having a serious race. So something to contemplate later on. It's a voyage of endurance. You've got to be there at the finish to win it, but it's also a race, and a lot of people appreciate that. I think it's more of an effort as time goes by. Some of the sailors who got into this as being an adventure, which it is first and foremost, and it's all about a circumnavigation, all those things. But there's a race going on, no question about that. So that's kind of cool. And I'm going to bring up a subject which a lot of people don't know about, and it's all got to do with these things. Your safety harness life jacket. There's a lot of misconception there, and even the industry, who are supposed to know what goes on, they have no idea. And that's the issue of if you want to if you want to fly to your boat, like if you go to Fiji and you've got your, €1,200 life jacket, safety harness, and your PAB and your PLB, and you want to carry it in your hand luggage, can you? Because it's got CO2 cylinder in it. Or can you pack it into your bag because it's got CO2 cylinder in it? And there are rules and regulations now. I'm going to explain it because a lot of people don't understand it. We do, and I've known it for a long, long time, but I still have trouble with airlines over it. So we'll tell you the process there. So for now, just while we're waiting for the others, I'll come back to these pictures. There's the fleet with all their hard hats before they left Fiji. Wasn't that long ago, but it seems like forever. Anyway, part of the course. I haven't heard if someone bought this boat at auction or not yet, so I'm holding my breath that someone gets hold of it and they might want to do the MGR, although I fully appreciate that words are easier than effort, so let's wait and see. And thanks to the guys at the Class Globe 580 German Class Association of the Alma Globe 580s. They've been displaying hull 66 at the Fredericton boat show by the lake and all the rest of it. It's finished yesterday, so they'd be packing up either last night or today, but they did a great job of that and created quite a bit of interest, I believe. So that's kind of cool. We've still got what I call consistent inquiries for plans for builders, and I think that'll continue for a long, long time yet. So, and the MGR is a flag waving exercise as well. People see that, they might not want to sail around the world, but they know that they've got a boat that's capable of it. Touch wood, no one's done it yet, but we're all well on our way to achieving that. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. All right, straight into the tracker, and let's see what happens. So you're on the tracker, and now I'm going to go on the tracker. So I'm on. We can make it a little bit bigger, and they should have all rolled over to the 8 o'clock UTC positions right now. You can see the back end of the fleet has got a bit more breeze than the front end, and they're getting quite close to Rodriguez, which is right there. I'll talk about the voyage planning. As you know, we've been looking at the speeds and so on, and I've had to ponder this very carefully over the last 24 hours, but I have made a decision on what's going to happen in relation to those who are stopping at Rodriguez and those that and how we're going to handle Mauritius as well going forward. So I haven't officially informed the entrants yet, but some of them will be watching this, and then when I get off of here, I'll basically tell them what's going on. We've made a tentative decision with some other decisions to be made in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so Josh got plenty of breeze there, doing 4.8 and 116 mile day. That's all pretty good. Let's just do a statistic on the back end of the fleet to Rodriguez. Still 1,400 miles away, so that's about 10, 11, 12 days. About 12 days before getting to Rodriguez. It's the fleet is now split across nearly 1,000 miles. So there's nearly 1,000 mile break from Fiji, but you got to build in another 2 days there. So that's probably like about 1,300 mile in real terms, because between Adam and the lead 4, there's that 2 day extra clip that happened there. Anyway, Still not bad considering they've probably done about 7,000 miles or so since Fiji. Ayrton doing 5.1 knots and 120 nautical mile a day. Not too bad. The breeze is very much on the beam here now, so for Ayrton, so that could be potential knockdown situations. I'd say the sea state is probably quite solid at the moment. Let's have a look, seeing we're talking about it. Not too bad. Not as bad as over here at the lead end of the fleet. There's a bit more there. But there, once again, you can see that wave pattern dividing line just coming in behind Kerry. If you can see that, coming in behind Kerry and before Peeler. There it is there. Difference in height, but also wave direction. So that makes that area between Kerry and Peeler quite confused. So back to Ayrton and so on, they're probably getting 3.5, occasionally a bigger one at 4, and it's right on the beam. In the middle, Adams just dropped out for a bit of respite with the sea, the lead group, and then the leaders themselves are going into the sea created by the systems down south. Anyway, I digress, but it was good to see it. So Ayrton's probably got a bit of water over the deck, and he's down below watching Netflix. Jasmine, 5.3, 117 mile a day. She's backed off a bit, probably just sailing under a head sail there because there's quite a bit of breeze, 25 to 28 knots, gusting up to 28. Eric doing the same, 5 knots, 121, not too bad. Christian, I had a chat to Christian last night. He called up late talking about the plans for the Atlantic and the estimated timelines, and I showed him the process I used to work out the estimated time of getting into the ports, St. Helena and Recife. And Recife isn't going to be a full stop start and leg. That's just going to be one leg now from Cape Town all the way through to Antigua, the sailing academy there. Anyway, Christian currently doing 5.1 knots and 130 mile a day, speed slowly increasing. Jacob, 5.5 knots and 125. So Christian has actually knocked 5 miles out of Jacob. Excuse me. Adam, 5.5, 130 mile a day. That's a little bit of an increase. And now watch this. I've already had a sneak peek. This is quite interesting. So the sea state's probably down a little bit for the leaders, and also the wind has swung a bit for the leaders. You can see over here we were talking about Ayrton. He's copying it on the beam with a distinct southeasterly. Then as it goes forward to Adam and so on, it's gone to an east-southeasterly, right? And then by the time it's still swinging past Peeler, it's on Peeler's port quarter, but by the time you get up to the lead boats, it's pretty much coming dead astern, and they've been able to crank up the pace. So Peeler's done 142 mile a day, which is pretty cool, doing 6.2 average over a 4-hour period. And then you get down to Kerry. Kerry's done 147 mile a day. We're getting so used to these high speeds, you sort of treat it as a bit of a norm. We'll check the current when we've gone through the lot, but 147 is pretty cool. 6 knots. Dan doing 6.2 knots, a little bit faster over 4 hours, but still managed 147 mile a day, the same as Kerry. And Renault, 5.8 knots, a bit slower over the last 4 hours, but also on 147 mile a day. So you can see that when we say, for instance, that I mentioned this yesterday, more or less. I'll just blow this up so we can get it as accurate as possible. When we say that, Dan is only, what is he now, 66, he's lost a bit of ground. Dan is only probably 65 or something, 65 miles behind Renault. That's only 12 hours, but it's not really, because you can see all the 3 boats are moving at exactly the same distance every day. So to catch up 65 miles, if you, that's 65 hours at 1 knot extra per hour, 1 knot extra speed. And so it's just not easy. It's a long way. It's only, if Renault was to stop, they would overtake him within about 12, 13 hours or so, right? But he's not going to stop, touch wood. And the same, Kerry trying to catch up to Daniel. He is, what have you got? He's about, on course, he's probably about 65 miles behind Dan, okay? So again, it's hard to back that off. But the key element for racing is not to make mistakes. Often, especially in an event like the GGR, with their bigger equipment, things like that, you'll make your biggest gains when the other guy makes a mistake. You might gain 50 miles in hours, right? And the similar thing here, if someone makes a mistake and then they go, a knot slower for 12 hours, well, there's 12 miles, So it's key is not to make a mistake. And again, probably sail straight lines, but all three at the front here, four at the front, they're sailing straight lines. But it's hard to make up that ground. So you're waiting for someone else to have a problem or make a mistake, and then it's nothing. Even for Peeler will be. Let's have a look. Bow to bow. Peeler is 250 miles uh, behind Renault. So from Fiji, 250 miles is only 2 days. So if something happened to Renault, or Renault decides he wants to put a new sail on the boat, but Peeler can keep going, well, that new sail is going to cost him pretty much 2 days, 48 hours. So you can see the sail replacement becomes a tactical thing as well. It's okay to have them, but put them on, and it has big ramifications. So that's kind of interesting to remember as well. Okay, so let's go back and look at the 2-day weather and the currents once we come back here. We'll check out the currents first, because up front they're certainly cranking on. There's a bit of current there, but nothing, not super current, but it's nice to have. And I think that's probably giving them, if they're sitting in this, that's at least half a knot. There's 12 miles. So if you're doing 142, you really only did 130, you get 12 for free. If it's half a knot, and it could be more than that, it could be probably 3/4 of a knot. Fortunately, all in the same direction as the wind, so the sea stays pretty calm. And that's real time at the moment. If I just push it through a day, it's getting a little less, if anything. The guys at the back have got a bit of a bigger boost. The guys at the back end are definitely relaxing. They're not pushing as hard as the front guys. That goes without saying. But they're having a nice ride, and they're focused on finishing, keeping the boat in one piece. In fact, I've got to say, every time I speak to someone on a boat, I say, "How's the boat?" Standing up, going in a bit more depth, and the boat's touch wood so far, really holding up very well. No reports of anything other than sails and UV degradation of the sails. So anyway, there's the currents. Look at the clouds. We'll do the wind last. Not bad sailing. Some have got clouds, but not too bad. Temperature is getting cooler. We know that. And back to the wind. So we'll push that forward every 3 hours. Here it comes. So the heavier weather is extending forward on the fleet, but not all the way forward to the leaders. And in fact, they're going to go a little bit quieter. There goes the first day. But the back end of the fleet, after Adam, they've got plenty of breeze the second day as well. And then it starts to back off. So, and the third day, they've got a nice breeze all the way through. Trade winds there on the second. And the third, we're going to start seeing people turn up by then. And then it gets a bit softer and a bit nicer. More fun, but less breeze. So that's the fourth. And okay, so let's just check the distance and ETAs again. We've been saying Friday morning for Renault, and I think that's fair enough. I think that's not going to change much. In fact, it'll get less because they're going so bloody fast. So here it is here. Renault's 420. So if there's 145, 2, that's 3 days. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it could be late Thursday for Renault, and then Friday for the others. So Renault, you might not have to pay the overtime rates. Ooh, jeepers. Have to wait and see. But yes, they're closing on the finish really quickly now. Okay, I think we're pretty much done with that. So I'll come back and explain a couple of things first. So I'm back here. Okay, life jackets. Now, this is a really common thing for sailors, and a lot of people won't take them because they've got a CO2 cylinder in here, 20 or 30 gram cylinder, depending on the nature of your jacket. You can actually, under IATA is the International Association of Aviation, whatever. It's like the international body, and there's rules and regulations that they work to, like no dangerous goods, like you cannot take on board the plane a CO2 cylinder. It's explosive, right? So you can't do it, okay? However, if you're a sailor, and you got to remember too that under all the seats are the life jackets, and they've got CO2 cylinders in it and so on. So as much as they say it's dangerous goods and you can't carry it, if it's with your life jacket, like this is the Plastimo, really good one. This is what we use, the 196s, fantastic jackets. They've got a hydrostatic firing mechanism in here, and they've got a 30-gram cylinder inside the jacket up here. You're allowed to carry, like I'm allowed to carry, 2 of these, right, in my check-in baggage in the suitcase, right, with another 2 spares cylinders, CO2 cylinders. So that's a total of 4 CO2 cylinders packed away in my suitcase, which is normally dangerous goods, right? But you're legally allowed to do it, right? And you're not breaking any regulations. However, there's something that's incredibly important. It is completely illegal to do it unless you pre-notify the airline, okay? And by that, the cutoff time is 72 hours. So you've got until 72 hours before you fly. So that's 3 days. So you should be telling them 5 days, 4 or 5 days beforehand. And you can do it officially with an email. You'll have a management of your ticket and your booking and so on. It's best to do it in writing, but you can do it online live with their agents. You just give them your booking number, so you can call up manage your booking if you want to cancel it or change it or whatever you do to communicate about your booking. And you tell them you have a sailing inflatable life jacket with a CO2 cylinder in it. You can tell them the size, and you can say you got 1 or you got 2. And per person, it's a maximum of 2 life jackets with 2 cylinders actually in the jacket ready to go. You don't have to unscrew the bottle because these jackets are so good, but they're also a pain in the ass because you can't just simply unscrew the bottle. The bottle is captivated inside the bladder, right? So it's a bit of a process. It's not hard to do, but you need a special tool, and it's owner swappable. You can do it. They give you a booklet, but it's a pain in the ass. Some of them you can just unscrew it, but you don't have to take the CO2 cylinder out. You just leave them in the jacket so it's ready to fire, and then you can pack your 2 CO2 cylinders in there however you like, but it's good to put a bit of bubble wrap and tape them together so they don't bang around, because in the end of it is your firing mechanism and it's a thin bit of metal there. And they'll give you approval. Now, that's what they're supposed to do. And so often we go to the airline and they say, oh, we don't know anything about that. Sorry, you can't take that. It's dangerous goods. So you sometimes have to tell them that, hey, just look at the IATA regulations and you'll see that I'm allowed to carry the 2 jackets, the 2 spare cylinders on the plane, packed in my pack-on luggage. Now, that's the rules. They will do it, so it's a big relief because a lot of people, they leave their cylinder home and they go to try and buy another cylinder because they think they can't carry it with it, but you can. A lot of people don't know that. The other interesting thing is if you forget the 72-hour thing or you miss it by hours, we've had this just recently, and I thought, shit, I don't want to leave it behind. You can't exactly get to your booking, and then when they say you can't carry it in your hand luggage, you got to throw it away. You don't want to throw away, it's €500 or something, or whatever it is, €350 or whatever. Then that's we've actually taken it to the desk and pleaded, blah blah blah, and they will look at it and they'll take it to their cargo guys or their technical manager that's on the luggage, and instead of letting us put it in the luggage at the last minute, they said, no, we want you to take it as carry-on hand luggage. Right, so a couple of times we've actually carried these on, but again, you're risking the fact they might not let you, so you've got to be careful. But you are legally able to put it in. The other thing I just mentioned, you all know about the PLBs and the PABs, right? They can't go in the baggage. So if you've got a PLB and a PAB on this, you've got to take them off and just simply carry them in your hand luggage. You don't need to mention that anywhere to anyone. You just take it with you. It's the same as any other battery-operated item. Sometimes I look at it strangely and say, what's that? And we carry all sorts of strange electronics sometimes. Anyway, but it's fun. Anyway, I thought you'd be interested to know about that. So that was today's extra subject. Okay, so g'day, Isla. G'day, John. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. It helps us with the algorithm things and stuff, I think, somehow, whatever. Anyway, thanks for your support. G'day, Christine. Adrian, g'day. My build 291 will start this week. Whoop, whoop. Let's hear it for Adrian. That's cool. We just ordered another huge batch of the stainless steel components. as we ran out. We do them in the first ones we did in groups of 50, and then the next one went down slightly less and so on. We machine them all out of a solid block of stainless steel, but we had quite a few on order, so they're just being manufactured now. So that's cool. But good luck, Adrian. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I look forward to following progress on the builders blogs. Just for those that are followers of the race, if you want to see some of these boats being built, if you get onto the Alma Class Globe 580 website, and at the very end it says resources, and you can log on to the blogs, and there's a whole list of all the active builders. We're going past 100 active builders now, and 300 something. The whole number's 300 and something now. I forget. Jane does all that. Okay, so what do we got here? I'm losing track. Okay, Bruce. Adrian, yeah, Bruce. I haven't read the entrant things. Don't let me forget the entrant updates. I'll just do the good questions here and then we'll go through Bruce. In Fiji, headed to Tonga, flying with CO2 life jackets is a massive pain. Being back security in Cameron and Cairns, everyone has different rules. Well, that's not right, but it is right. It's exactly what I was saying. They all have the same rules, but they just don't know it because it's a bit rare. And so what you got to do is plead your case. And if you have plenty of advance notice, they really can't refuse you to a degree. They can if they say no, you can't really do. Sorry, I'm bringing it. But if you give them enough notice, it's got to be a minimum of 72 hours under the rules, then they will check and they will realise that they have to do it. And at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world then. But, yeah, it can happen, and it sounds like you've had exactly the same situation, Bruce. And over the years, I could tell you stories that make your hair fall out. But anyway, that's fine. G'day, Craig. Thanks for the live check clarification. Very helpful. Yeah, you can Google it, by the way. You can just put it in, or AI. Mr. AI is really good now. He surpasses Google, but you just put your question up and you'll see it pop up and you'll see the regulations. And most of the airlines are good. So they're okay. When's your procedure happening? Okay, you asked me. It's not happening. It turned into a bit of a major. It was going to be a scrape and laser. But basically, when we went into the specialist, they said, nope. They had a look, and it's got to be a general anaesthetic, and they're going to be in hospital for a couple of days and all that stuff. And I said, when I buy helmets on a motorbike, they're really expensive helmets, but I can live with this for a bit longer, and I don't have enough time here to stay. So we postponed that one. So you just got to put up with it, or probably not to turn my head. Anyway, it's not the end of the world. But, yeah, it was a sudden change. So that's cool. Anyway. All right, so that's us done, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And okay, so two things. You threw me there, John, with that question. But anyway, I'm going to read you the messages from the entrants. Here we go. The cover. So we've got where do we go? The manager Nikki 28. Last week's a bit. Okay, I read you that one. I read you the one from I read you about Kerry. So we're up to Thingo, Boy, Josh. We've got 500 read messages. Skookum, sunny skies and moderate winds have been replaced by squalls, rain, clouds, and strong winds. We could see that on the tracker. Hiding out inside and keeping the hatch closed in an attempt to stay dry. Should moderate in a day or two, still cruising along towards Rodriguez. That's the beauty of the 580, like you shut your hatch, and we insist on a 100% watertight companionway hatch. All the other hatches are there. We insist on a minimum of 2 ventilators to let the air flow through the boat when you shut up. Otherwise, you could run out of air if you stay completely shut in a 580 for hours, you would suck out all the oxygen, So we insist on. I had 3 vents on. Tracker 3 is better, but we insist on 2, and just small head sail, wind vane steering gear, and just let the boat go. If you've got the breeze in the right direction, it's pretty impressive to see that happening. So anyway, a bit further from Josh. Difficulty sending messages. I don't want to put the iridium outside in the rain. Okay, Peter Punk. Here's Peeler. I'd like to take a sea shower, but I don't think it's very safe to do so in the cockpit. So I stick with the bath towels until better days. Cool. I hope your big bruise is getting better, Peeler. So all good. Renault. Oh, jeepers. In English. Oh, good. We got an English one from Renault. He's given in both French and English. Renault being Swiss, he speaks French and English. So thank you, Renault. High from 24 hours. Capuchinets riding side by side due to disorganised waves and full backwind. So it's right from behind. Sails in butterfly. That means wing and wing. So he's got the sails out wing and wing. Not easy to rested in these conditions. So it's hard because the boats, when you're wing and wing sort of thing, the boat, the sea right behind, and the confused sea state, the boat will be rocking and rolling back and forwards. It's hard to shut your eyes. And I forget whether I don't think Renault sleeps athwart ships. They used to be Canadan was athwart ships all the time. Um, but yeah, it's hard when it's rolling around. You get very quick motions as well because it's only a small boat. So okay. All right, so that's that one. And now the description on what we're going to do here. I'll tell you what's going to happen. And I've made a conceptual decision. I'll put you back to the tracker, and then I go on the tracker. The conceptual decision goes something like this: that everyone's going to be going to Rodriguez, right? The last couple. So Renault and everyone's going to Rodriguez. The stopover time is 6 days. Okay, so certainly all the lead fleet is going to be there for 6 days. And what we'll probably do, I'll decide on the back end fleet here. Minimum stay will be 4 days, and so these back end fleet might be there for 4 days or even 3. But anyway, get them there. When we get to Port Louis, I've decided for this is a whole new situation, and I'll officially notify the managers and entrants shortly. I only made the final decision just before the tracker update. I'm keen to keep the fleet as a group now, moving from Port Louis in Mauritius to Durban. Okay, that way, if there's some weather issues at the start, we can treat it as a group thing and so on. And it just means that the boats are closer together going across this next challenging passage. So what that's going to mean is that the leaders who were scheduling to have a 9-day stopover, okay, then what it'll be if I come back here and say, okay, well, how far? Sorry, I want to build that up. How far is the rest of the fleet behind? We can see they're spread over 1,000 miles. But if we take the middle of the lead group to the middle of the other group there, we've got about 580 miles. So that's going to be, 4 or 5 days. Okay, so if we were to delay the start 4 or 5 days and still make sure that the people coming into Port Louis have got the 9-day turnaround, and we'll estimate that when we see the fleet arriving. I think it'd better. We'll have a mass restart with a start line, so it'll be start conditions. 10-minute gun, 5-minute gun, boom, boom, and they're away. So that's basically what we're going to do here. So they're all going to Rodriguez. The tail enders might get 4 days instead of 6 days, just to catch up a little bit, group them a little bit closer. But I think the lead group is going to be waiting for an extra probably up to 5 days. So it'll go from 9 to 14 days. It'll be potentially a 2-week stopover. And that shouldn't be too bad because I'm not sure of the berthing there. The cost of berthing on the wharf, I don't know what that is. It might be free. And if they go up to the yacht club up in the north, it'll be free because it's all anchorage. And it appears, I've never been to Mauritius, but it looks like a pretty cool place. So they've got plenty to do, and there's civilization if you want it, or there's anchor out spots. So it's not going to affect budgets. But then that'll just put us all in the same situation going across here, because you can see here, look, there's, we're going to be facing different things, and I think it'll be better as a fleet to do that. So that's the big change. It's going to be a restart from Port Louis. I've got to find a starter because we won't be there. I'll find a cruising boat up there or someone. We'll put the word out. So if anyone in Port Louis or anyone in Mauritius cruising boat wants to act as a start boat for us to juggle the start line, we will make an amendment to the sailing instructions, and that's what's going to happen there. So a bit of a change. Some of them will like it, some of them might not like it, but that's life. I think it's best for the whole fleet, and certainly the crews like to have a mass restart, but we can't do it all the way around the world. So I won't call it we're learning as we go, but there's a bit of that. But we're certainly remaining flexible, and safety is the biggest concern there. So that's it. Okay, so you got all that, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks for following. Tell the world what's going on. It's going to get very interesting because everyone's gone so far now that very soon people are realising. You imagine just one little sailor by himself, not in a fleet in an event like this, but one sailor. Say Jazz is out there and she decides to get hold of a little boat. She's sailing around the world by herself, a little 19-foot plywood. We all know the story. And she's all of a sudden going to be heading down to Cape Town. And you look at the map and you think, jeepers. And I had an interesting thing happen today. A guy I know really well, he's a friend of mine. He's a solo sailor in a 20. He's got a Vancouver 27. He's sailing around the world. And another guy who had a Contessa 26. They've been sort of sailing together across the Pacific. He got to Australia. He's now sold his Contessa because he bought a Tradewind 33. So he's now GGR compliant because he really wants to do the 2030 GGR. But the big thing was, my other mate, I won't mention his name, he tells me, Don, everyone's watching the mini globe race, all the sailors across the Pacific. And he said he knows quite a few people that have had bigger boats and they're now trading down. They see him sailing around the world in his 27-footer and they see Adam in his contested 26 and they see the mini globe race fleet going around and they think, oh, maybe the big boat's not as big as Adventure as we thought. So there's quite, he knows a few people that are trading down. So kind of interesting. Anyway, great adventure, and I'm really proud of all of the fleet, and they're having a good time. So that's all cool. See you later.